A neglected ship cast aside by all, revived by a human mechanic into the most powerful war machine. The star dock was quiet that morning. Ships of all sizes floated in the empty space, some shining, others broken and abandoned. Among them, one ship stood out, not because it was impressive, but because it had been forgotten. Rust streaked its hull, its panels were dented, and dust had settled over every surface. This was Titan's Wrath, a once proud warship that had been abandoned years ago after a battle it had not survived. Most engineers walked past it without a second glance. They called it useless, a relic of old wars that had no place in the present. Some even laughed at it, saying it was beyond repair. But one man saw something different. Ethan Parker walked slowly along the dock, his eyes fixed on the ship. He carried a worn toolbox, small but packed with his most trusted tools. Most people would have called him stubborn, maybe even foolish. A human mechanic trying to repair a ship that even advanced alien engineers had given up on seemed like a hopeless task. But Ethan did not care what they thought. He had always believed that humans could solve problems others considered impossible. He stopped at the base of Titan's Wrath and ran a hand along the hull. It was cold and rough, and some panels scraped his fingers. He could feel the history of the ship, the battles it had fought, the lives it had carried, and the failures it had endured. Most people only saw the rust, the damage, and the dust. Ethan saw potential. He opened the hatch and climbed inside. The control room was dark and silent. Broken consoles leaned at odd angles, wires hung loose, and dust coated every surface. Ethan coughed as he moved through the narrow corridors. "This is worse than I thought," he muttered, though the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. He liked challenges. He liked problems that needed fixing. Ethan began his inspection carefully, checking the main control panels, the engines, and the weapons systems. Most of the technology was alien in origin, complicated and unfamiliar, but he had learned to adapt. He could read the patterns in the wiring, understand the systems, and think in ways that the aliens never expected. As he worked, he made notes, marking broken circuits, damaged engines, and faulty shields. It was a long list, but nothing was beyond repair. While he was working, a voice echoed from the dock. "Ethan Parker, what are you doing here?" He looked up and saw Lydia Brooks walking toward the ship. Lydia was a fellow human, an engineer and pilot with a keen mind for understanding alien systems. She carried a small bag with diagnostic equipment and a curious expression. "I could ask you the same thing," she said, raising an eyebrow. "I'm not here to ask questions," Ethan replied. "I'm here to fix a ship." Lydia laughed softly. "You mean that old rust bucket? Everyone says it's impossible. Why waste your time?" Ethan shrugged. "Because impossible is just another word for not tried yet." She looked at him, surprised by his confidence. "You really think you can bring it back to life?" "I don't think," Ethan said. "I know." Lydia shook her head and followed him inside. "Fine, I'll help, but only because I want to see how crazy this really is." Together they explored the ship. Ethan pointed out damaged systems, showing Lydia what he had discovered. Some panels were fused, some circuits fried, and the engines had been neglected for years. But there were signs of hope. Wires that were intact, energy cores that had not been destroyed, and weapons systems that still had potential. "This is going to take a lot of work," Lydia said, touching a console carefully. "We can't just repair it like a car. Some of this is ancient alien technology. It's tricky." "I know," Ethan replied. "But humans are good at figuring out tricks. We find ways where others see none." They started small. Ethan worked on the engines, cleaning out debris and replacing worn parts. Lydia focused on the control panels, rewiring circuits and testing power flow. Slowly, The ship began to respond. A faint hum echoed through the corridors, the first sound Titan's wrath had made in years. Ethan smiled. There it is. She's alive. Just a little. Lydia nodded. Small steps, but it's a start. Days passed, and they worked tirelessly. Other engineers watched from the dock, whispering and shaking their heads. They'll never make it fly, one said. That ship is a relic. Ethan ignored them. He had learned long ago that humans were often underestimated, especially by advanced alien civilizations. That was fine by him. Underestimation made it easier to surprise them. With every repair, Titan's wrath seemed to wake a little more. Lights flickered on the bridge, engines purred softly, and minor weapons systems responded to commands. Ethan even discovered the ship's AI core, hidden beneath layers of dust and protective panels. It was dormant but intact. This is the real prize, Ethan said quietly. If we can awaken the AI, the ship will become more than just a machine. Lydia leaned over the panel, studying the interface. It's strange. The AI isn't just off. It's waiting. Maybe it needs someone to believe in it. Ethan laughed softly. Then we'll be the ones to believe. The next challenge was power. Titan's wrath had been abandoned for so long that its main power core had almost completely drained. Ethan and Lydia worked together to reroute energy from the auxiliary systems, carefully testing each connection. Sparks flew and alarms blared several times, but they persisted. Finally, the ship's core hummed to life. A soft blue glow filled the engine room, and the energy flowed steadily through the ship. The AI responded in subtle ways. Lights pulsed. Screens flickered with faint messages, and for the first time, Titan's wrath seemed aware of their presence. Ethan reached out and touched the console. We've done it, he said. We're back online. Lydia smiled, pride shining in her eyes. It's more than that. The ship is learning from us. It's listening. As the days turned into weeks, the ship's systems improved. Ethan adapted human techniques to repair alien machinery, combining ingenuity with practical solutions. Lydia improved the control interface, allowing humans to communicate with the AI more easily. Titan's wrath slowly became alive again, responding to commands, moving its thrusters slightly, and even adjusting its shields automatically. One evening, as the sun reflected off the hull outside the dock, Ethan sat in the bridge, looking at the stars. He could feel Titan's wrath beneath him, alive and aware. You've been forgotten, he said quietly, but no more. We're going to make you the best you can be. Lydia sat beside him, and maybe show the universe that humans are not to be ignored. The ship responded with a faint vibration, like a heartbeat. It was subtle, but enough to tell them that Titan's wrath understood. Ethan and Lydia continued their work late into the night. They repaired the minor weapons, tested energy shields, and slowly restored life to the engines. The other engineers who had mocked them at first began to notice. Some stopped to watch quietly, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disbelief. One day, Ethan discovered a hidden compartment beneath the main deck. Inside were unused weapon systems and shield generators, old but powerful. This ship had more potential than anyone knew, he said, and we're going to bring it all back. Lydia adjusted the interface. With these systems, we can make her stronger than she ever was before. The AI responded subtly, lights pulsing in recognition. Ethan grinned. I think she likes us. For the first time in years, Titan's wrath was not abandoned. It had two humans who believed in it, who worked tirelessly to bring it back from nothing. Each repair, each modification, each careful test brought the ship closer to its former glory, and beyond. Ethan and Lydia spent months on the ship, sometimes working from morning until night. The dock workers grew used to seeing them there, quietly repairing, testing, and tinkering. Titan's Wrath's hull shone a little brighter with every repair, its systems responded faster, and the AI became more active, almost playful in subtle ways. The final test of Part 1 came when Ethan activated the main engines for the first time. Titan's Wrath shuddered as power surged through the core and the thrusters glowed with blue light. Slowly, carefully, the ship lifted off the dock platform. It hovered in space, steady and powerful, despite the years of neglect. Lydia cheered. "You did it! You actually did it!" Ethan smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "No, we did it. The ship helped too. Titan's Wrath pulsed gently, its AI core alive, its systems ready. It was no longer a neglected relic. It was alive, aware, and waiting for the challenges ahead." Ethan and Lydia looked at each other, a mix of excitement and determination in their eyes. They had started with a forgotten ship, but together they were awakening something extraordinary. Something that could change the course of human history in the galaxy. And for the first time, the stars seemed closer, full of possibilities, dangers, and victories. Titan's Wrath had been forgotten by the world, but it would not be forgotten again. Humans had returned it to life, and in the process, they had proven that no challenge was too great when met with courage, skill, and determination. Ethan returned to the Star Dock the next morning, carrying a bag of tools that looked far too small for the work ahead. Titan's Wrath loomed in the middle of the dock like a sleeping giant, its hull scarred and rusted, streaked with dust from years of neglect. The sunlight from the distant sun reflected off its once shining armor, now dulled, and Ethan felt a mix of awe and determination. He knew that no one believed in this ship anymore. To the other engineers, it was scrap, a failure. But to him, it was something else, a challenge waiting to be won. He climbed aboard, stepping carefully over the debris scattered across the deck. Broken panels, frayed wires, and half-fused circuits littered the control room. Ethan knelt beside one of the main consoles and opened his toolkit. He began to examine the wiring, tracing lines that had long been ignored, carefully noting which circuits were still alive and which ones were dead. He touched the panel lightly, almost as if he could feel the ship's memories, the battles it had fought, and the commands it had obeyed. Hours passed. The morning turned to afternoon, and Ethan's hands were covered in grease, but he worked with a steady determination. Every time he fixed a small system, the ship seemed to hum with recognition. A flicker of lights here, a soft vibration there, signs that Titan's Wrath was slowly waking. Ethan smiled to himself. "Just a little more," he said, talking to the ship as if it could understand him. As he worked, a voice called from the dock. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He looked up and saw Lydia Brooks walking toward him. She was a human engineer like him, but with a knack for handling alien technology, something Ethan admired. She carried a small case filled with diagnostic tools. "I saw you sneaking in here last night," Lydia said, raising an eyebrow.
"Thought you were going to try to steal parts or something." "I'm not stealing," Ethan replied.
"I'm fixing." Lydia shook her head and laughed softly. "Fixing a ship that everyone says is broken beyond repair? You have a lot of nerve, or a lot of patience," Ethan said. "Come on, I could use some help." Lydia followed him into the control room. She crouched beside him and started examining the alien interface panels. "These systems are ancient," she said. "I've never seen wiring like this, but I think I can make sense of it." Together, they worked. Ethan focused on the mechanical parts, replacing worn servos and lubricating the joints in the ship's wings and engines. Lydia focused on the electronics, slowly bringing the circuits back to life. They tested one of the smaller weapon systems. At first, nothing happened. Ethan's heart sank, but Lydia kept trying. She adjusted a few circuits and rerouted some power lines. Suddenly, a faint glow appeared on the display, and a tiny energy pulse shot from the cannon. Ethan clapped his hands. "There it is! You did it!" Lydia smiled. "It's just a start, but at least the ship is listening to us now." For days they worked together. Other engineers laughed at them from the dock, calling the effort useless. "Why waste time on a relic?" they said. "It will never fly again." He had learned long ago that humans were underestimated, often dismissed by alien standards. That was fine by him. He liked proving people wrong. With Lydia's help, Titan's wrath began to awaken in small ways. The lights on the bridge flickered more steadily, the engines hummed faintly, and the weapons systems responded to input, though weakly. One evening, Ethan and Lydia were in the engine room, hunched over the ship's core. The room was cramped, filled with pipes, cables, and strange alien machinery. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow.
"I think we can power up the main thrusters tomorrow," he said. Lydia shook her head.
"Careful, we don't know what the core will do if we push too much power. The last thing we want is an explosion." Ethan nodded. "I know. But if we don't try, nothing will happen. This ship deserves a chance." That night, as the dock grew quiet and most of the other engineers went home, Ethan stayed on the bridge. He ran his hands along the control panels, checking every switch, every lever. Titan's wrath was starting to respond more clearly. The ship's AI, long dormant, flickered to life. The soft hum of its internal systems filled the room, and Ethan could feel a strange presence, almost like the ship was aware of him. "Hello?" he said softly. "Can you hear me?" There was no voice, no sound, but the lights on the panels pulsed gently. Ethan took it as a yes. He felt a strange connection forming, a sense that the ship understood him. The next morning, Ethan and Lydia started the main thrusters for the first time. They were careful, running tests with minimal power. The engines groaned as they came online, and smoke hissed from old exhaust vents. Ethan adjusted the controls, and the hum grew stronger. Then, with a loud rumble, the engines stabilized, and Titan's wrath vibrated with life. Lydia cheered. "It's alive! It really is alive!" Ethan laughed, his hands trembling from excitement. "I told you, nothing is impossible." As days turned into weeks, the ship continued to improve under their care. Ethan and Lydia discovered hidden compartments containing advanced weapons and shield systems. These systems had been ignored or overlooked by previous engineers because they were complicated or required creative solutions. Ethan adapted them using human engineering methods, finding ways to combine alien technology with his own innovations. One day, they decided to test the ship's mobility. Titan's wrath was lifted out of the dock using the magnetic cranes, and Ethan carefully activated the engines. The ship shuddered as it left the docking platform and hovered in space for the first time in decades. It moved slowly at first, testing its stabilizers and thrusters, but soon it began to respond with surprising agility. Lydia laughed as she guided the controls. "This is incredible. The old crew didn't know what they had. We're flying a legend." Ethan looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of the ship beneath him. "It's more than a legend," he said quietly. "It's a new beginning." The work was not without challenges. Alien engineers still mocked them, warning that human methods would fail. Some systems refused to cooperate, forcing Ethan and Lydia to improvise. They had to weld parts together, rewire circuits, and sometimes risk dangerous experiments to awaken the ship fully. But every problem they solved made the bond between them and the ship stronger. Titan's wrath was no longer a neglected relic. It was a living machine learning to trust humans again. One evening, as the two of them rested in the bridge after a long day, the ship's AI responded for the first time. A soft voice echoed in the room, calm and mechanical. Ethan Parker. Lydia Brooks. Systems operational. Awaiting commands. Ethan's eyes widened. It's talking. Lydia smiled, a mix of pride and relief on her face. It's alive, Ethan. Really alive. The ship's sensors began to respond, scanning the star system automatically. Its shields powered up fully and its weapons systems were calibrated. Titan's Wrath had not only returned to life, it was evolving, learning from its human pilots. The other engineers on the dock began to notice. Some watched in disbelief, unable to hide their astonishment as Titan's Wrath moved with grace and power. Rumors spread quickly through the star system. A human mechanic had revived the legendary warship, and it was unlike anything anyone had seen before. Ethan and Lydia ignored the whispers. They were focused on their work, pushing the ship further each day. They tested weapon systems, ran diagnostics on the engines, and improved the AI's interface so it could learn from human strategy. Titan's Wrath became more than a ship. It became a partner, a force that could think, adapt, and respond in ways no other warship could. Weeks later, as they prepared for another test flight, Ethan looked at Lydia. "We're ready for more," he said. "Soon we'll take it beyond this dock. We'll show everyone what it can do." Lydia nodded, excitement in her eyes. "And when we do, they won't be able to ignore us. Not anymore." The ship hummed around them, a low, steady sound, like a heartbeat. It was no longer abandoned. It was no longer forgotten. Titan's Wrath had been reborn, and under the hands of humans it was awakening into a power that no one could have imagined. Ethan and Lydia knew the work was only beginning. There were still tests, still repairs, and still countless challenges ahead. But for the first time, they felt the truth of something they had long believed. Human ingenuity could turn even the most neglected machine into a force to be reckoned with. As the stars reflected off the hull, Ethan smiled. He could feel Titan's Wrath watching him back, alive, aware, and ready. And in that moment, he knew that the universe had never seen anything like what they were building. Ethan and Lydia spent the next few days running full systems checks on Titan's Wrath. The ship responded beautifully to their commands. Its shields held steady, the engines purred with steady power, and the weapon systems were fully functional. But the real test was still ahead. The galaxy was not peaceful. Rumors had reached them that a small alien fleet, the Zorath, had begun attacking nearby colonies, taking advantage of the distracted fleets and weak patrols. Ethan stood on the bridge, hands gripping the controls. He looked at Lydia, who sat beside him, eyes wide but determined. "This is it," he said quietly. "Time to see if Titan's Wrath can actually fight." Lydia nodded. "I've checked the weapons. Shields are ready. Engines are stable. We're not just flying a museum piece anymore." The ship hummed beneath them, almost as if it agreed. Ethan tapped the console and activated the main sensors. The Zorath fleet appeared on the display. It was not large, but it was well armed and highly aggressive. Most ships in the nearby sector would have fled immediately. "Ready or not, here they come," Lydia said. She started plotting a course, weaving through the asteroid fields near the colony to gain a tactical advantage. Titan's Wrath moved smoothly, its engines gliding past massive rocks with grace. The alien fleet advanced, sending warning signals, confident that a single human-operated ship could not pose a threat. Ethan and Lydia ignored the communications. Words did not matter now. Action did. The first shots fired. Energy beams streaked past Titan's Wrath, but its shields absorbed the impact with minimal strain. Ethan adjusted the ship's angle, allowing the beams to glance off the hull rather than strike directly. "Not bad," he muttered. "Better than I expected." Lydia smiled. "It's learning." The ship is reacting to them as we move." They struck back. Ethan activated the main cannons, which had been upgraded with human modifications. The first volley was cautious, precise. Explosions lit up the space around the alien fleet, and one of their smaller fighters was destroyed instantly. The Zorath were surprised. No human ship had ever fought like this before. No. As the battle continued, Ethan noticed something in the sensors. The aliens were coordinating, moving to flank the ship. He adjusted the controls quickly, spinning Titan's Wrath and firing defensive pulses that disabled one of their wing ships. The ship's AI began assisting, predicting enemy movements based on Ethan's maneuvers. It was almost like the ship could think on its own. "You see that?" Lydia said, pointing to the display. "It's anticipating them." Ethan grinned. "Not just anticipating. It's learning faster than any human or alien we've ever faced." The battle escalated. The Zorath deployed missile drones. Titan's Wrath countered them with energy pulses and rapid maneuvers, dodging most attacks and destroying drones with precise shots. Each successful defense boosted Ethan's confidence. He realized that this was the first time humans had not only survived against the Zorath, but had a clear advantage. Despite the chaos, Ethan noticed a weak point in the alien formation. Their central command ship had slowed slightly, likely due to overextending their smaller craft. He signaled Lydia, "Focus fire on that one." "It's the key." Lydia adjusted the targeting systems. Titan's Wrath fired a concentrated beam of energy, striking the command ship directly. Sparks and fire erupted from its hull. The smaller Zorath ships wavered, losing coordination. They had underestimated the power of the human ship. Ethan pushed Titan's Wrath further. He activated the secondary weapon system, designed to adapt to alien attacks. Tiny drones emerged from the ship, attacking the enemy fleet from unexpected angles. The aliens panicked, retreating from the combined assault. The AI inside Titan's Wrath coordinated the drones perfectly with Ethan and Lydia's maneuvers. "This is incredible," Lydia said, eyes wide. "They don't even know how to fight against this." The Zorath tried one last attack. They formed a tight cluster to fire a massive energy blast, hoping to overwhelm Titan's Wrath's shields. Ethan saw it coming. He adjusted the ship's orientation and fired the defensive matrix, a human invention combining the ship's shields with energy deflection. The blast struck the shields but was absorbed completely. The energy then reflected back, hitting the cluster of Zorath ships and sending several of them spinning into the void. The alien fleet was in full retreat. Titan's Wrath hovered in the middle of the battlefield, damaged but undefeated. Ethan and Lydia high-fived each other, relief and excitement mixing on their faces. "That was amazing," Lydia said. "We actually did it. The ship is more powerful than anyone expected." Ethan laughed. "Not just the ship. Us too. Humans can be clever when we need to be." As they surveyed the aftermath, Titan's Wrath's AI spoke again, this time in a calm and almost proud tone. "Systems operational. Threat neutralized. Efficiency rating 100%. Ethan smiled. "See? Even it's impressed." Lydia looked out at the retreating alien ships. "This changes everything. They thought we were weak, but they were wrong." Ethan nodded. He knew that this battle was only the beginning. Titan's Wrath had proven itself, but the galaxy was vast and full of threats. Still, for the first time, humans could stand against even the strongest alien fleets. They returned to the Stardock. Word of their victory spread quickly. Other humans cheered when they saw the ship return. Alien engineers who had mocked them before now watched in silence, some with admiration, others with disbelief. Titan's Wrath was no longer a neglected relic. It was alive, powerful, and a symbol of human ingenuity. The governing council called a meeting. They were skeptical at first, but the battle logs could not be ignored. Ethan presented the data, showing how the ship had moved, attacked, and survived. Lydia added details about the AI's learning and the innovative systems they had developed. By the end of the meeting, even the council members who had doubted them were impressed. "This is remarkable," one of the council leaders said. "A human mechanic and his partner have revived a ship that has changed the balance of power. We underestimated you." Ethan shrugged. "We just worked with what we had. Humans are good at solving problems that others give up on." The council decided to keep Titan's Wrath in active service, assigning it to Ethan and Lydia for further missions. Other ships in the fleet would be upgraded using some of the modifications they had developed. The human team had not only saved the ship, but had created new strategies and technologies that could shift the tide of war. That night, Ethan and Lydia stayed aboard Titan's Wrath, looking out at the stars. The ship hummed softly beneath them, a steady reminder of the power they had awakened. "You think it will ever stop learning?" Lydia asked. Ethan smiled. "I don't know. But that's the point. The more it learns, the stronger we are. And we'll keep pushing it further." Lydia leaned back, tired but happy. "I can't wait to see what we do next." Titan's Wrath pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in the quiet of space. Ethan reached out, placing a hand on the console. "Ah, we've just begun," he said. "The galaxy doesn't know it yet, but humans are not to be underestimated." The next morning, the ship was repaired and upgraded further. Ethan and Lydia tested the newly reinforced engines and recalibrated the weapons. Titan's Wrath moved faster than ever, its shields stronger, its weapons more precise. Every improvement they made gave them confidence. Soon, they were ready for a larger mission. Reports came in that a more formidable alien fleet, larger than the Zorath, was threatening a nearby human colony. This would be their true test. The first battle had proven the ship, but this next one would show if humans with Titan's Wrath could stand against overwhelming odds. Ethan and Lydia prepared for the mission, running simulations and reviewing strategies, and Titan's Wrath's AI now responded with suggestions, predicting enemy movements and potential threats. It had become more than a machine. It was a partner, a team member that trusted humans as much as they trusted it. As they approached the new sector, the distant glint of the alien ships appeared on the sensors. The fleet was vast, well-organized, and ready for combat. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. "Here we go," he said. "Time to see what humans and Titan's Wrath can really do." Lydia nodded, eyes sharp. "Let's show them they made a mistake underestimating us." The stars stretched before them as the ship accelerated toward the alien fleet. Titan's Wrath glowed with power, ready to prove that even a ship long neglected could become the most powerful weapon in the galaxy when guided by human hands. Ethan felt a rush of excitement. This was the moment they had been preparing for. The first real test had been successful, but now the stakes were higher, and the true strength of humans, ingenuity, and courage would be revealed. Titan's Wrath moved forward, engines roaring, weapons primed, shields glowing, and its AI fully engaged. Together, Ethan and Lydia would face the coming storm, confident that their human creativity and determination could overcome even the most advanced alien threats. The battle was about to begin. Ethan and Lydia stood on the bridge of Titan's Wrath. The vast galaxy spread before them. The alien fleet ahead was unlike anything they had faced. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons glowing ominously. This was no small raid. It was a full-scale assault on human colonies, and Titan's Wrath was humanity's first real chance to fight back. Ethan took a deep breath. "This is it, Lydia. Everything we've done, all the repairs, all the upgrades, it comes down to this. Lydia nodded, her hands steady on the controls. The ship is ready. We're ready. Titan's wrath can take them. The AI pulsed softly beneath them, its sensors scanning every movement. Threat analysis complete. Enemy numbers far exceed friendly capacity. Recommend evasive maneuvers and strategic engagement. Ethan's eyes narrowed. We won't hide. We fight smart, but we fight. Titan's wrath moved forward, engines blazing. The alien fleet noticed immediately and opened fire. Beams of energy streaked across space, some glancing off the ship's shields, others barely missing. Ethan adjusted the shields, angling the ship so that the energy pulses bounced harmlessly off the reinforced armor. Lydia leaned forward. They're testing us. They think we'll panic. Ethan shook his head. We're human. We don't panic. They struck back. Titan's Wrath's cannons fired with precision, targeting key enemy ships first, the ones leading the attack. Explosions lit up the void as the first wave of aliens was destroyed. The AI suggested paths of attack, predicting how the enemies would respond to their maneuvers. Ethan followed its advice, twisting and spinning the ship in ways no one expected. One of the alien commanders sent a warning. Surrender, humans. Your efforts are useless. Ethan smiled. Wrong answer. He activated the secondary weapon system. Tiny drones swarmed out, attacking the enemy from unexpected angles. Shields were disrupted, and ships collided as they tried to dodge the relentless assault. Titan's Wrath moved like a living thing, dodging attacks and striking back faster than the aliens could react. Lydia laughed, excitement building. This is insane. It's working perfectly, Ethan grinned. It's more than working, it's dominating. The battle intensified. The aliens launched massive energy waves trying to overwhelm the ship. Titan's Wrath absorbed the attacks, the shields pulsing and deflecting beams back toward the enemy. The AI adjusted in real time, coordinating every weapon and shield system for maximum efficiency. The humans realized the ship had become more than just a machine. It was a partner, understanding their strategies and enhancing them. Ethan noticed a pattern in the enemy formation. Their center ships were overextended, trying to control too many flanks at once. There, he said, pointing at the display. That's their weak spot. Lydia followed his lead. Concentrate fire. Focus all weapons on the center. The cannons unleashed a massive energy beam combined with drone attacks. The alien center ships exploded, sending shock waves through the formation. Confusion spread, and the enemy fleet faltered. Titan's Wrath moved with precision, striking again and again. The aliens were smart, though. They quickly regrouped and tried a flanking maneuver, sending fast ships around both sides of Titan's Wrath. Ethan adjusted the ship's trajectory, spinning it so the alien flanks collided with each other instead of hitting them. The AI predicted their movements, and together, human intuition and ship intelligence turned the tide. But Lydia shouted over the roar of the engines. They're retreating! Look at them! But the battle was not over. A massive dreadnought ship appeared from the back of the enemy formation. It was enormous, armed with weapons capable of destroying Titan's Wrath with a single blast. Ethan's stomach tightened. That's their ace, he said. One shot, and we're done. Lydia's hands moved quickly over the controls. We can't avoid it forever. We have to attack. Ethan thought fast. We'll use everything. Full power, shields, cannons, drones. Everything we've got. Hit it from all sides. We do it together. Titan's Wrath accelerated toward the dreadnought, weaving through smaller enemy ships with unmatched agility. Energy beams struck the shields, but the human modifications absorbed and redirected most of the attacks. Ethan fired the main cannons while Lydia controlled the drones. Each strike from Titan's Wrath weakened the dreadnought, causing sparks and hull breaches. The AI spoke in a calm, precise tone. The structural integrity of enemy vessel compromised. Recommend direct strike to core. Ethan nodded. Got it. Let's finish this. He guided Titan's Wrath to a direct approach, dodging the dreadnought's energy blast at the last second. The ship's main beam locked onto the core of the enemy vessel. A concentrated shot of energy and drones hit the center, and the dreadnought shuddered, then exploded in a brilliant flash, scattering debris across space. The remaining alien ships hesitated. Their command was gone, and their formation broken. Titan's Wrath moved through them like a storm, disabling ship after ship. Within hours, the entire fleet was defeated or retreating. The human colony was safe. Titan's Wrath had turned the impossible into reality. Ethan and Lydia leaned back in their seats, exhausted but triumphant. The ship hummed around them, steady and alive. That was insane, Lydia said, still catching her breath. Ethan smiled. And it proves one thing. Humans are not weak. We never have been. And Titan's Wrath? It's unstoppable in the right hands. The news spread quickly. Across human colonies and alien systems, the story of the neglected ship that had become a legend circulated. The galaxy saw humans in a new light, not as weak and small, but as clever, inventive, and capable of turning even abandoned machines into unstoppable power. The governing council officially commissioned Titan's Wrath as the flagship of the human fleet. Ethan and Lydia were recognized for their ingenuity and bravery. Alien engineers, once skeptical, now asked for their guidance. Humans had shown that even when ignored or underestimated, they could achieve extraordinary things. In the following months, Ethan and Lydia continued to upgrade Titan's Wrath. They incorporated alien technology in ways no one else could, making the ship even more powerful. They trained new human pilots to understand the systems and work with the AI, spreading their innovations across the fleet. One night, after a long day of tests, Ethan and Lydia sat on the bridge, looking out at the stars. Titan's Wrath floated silently around them, its lights reflecting in the blackness of space. "Do you think it will ever stop learning?" Lydia asked. Ethan shook his head. "I don't think so. And that's why it's special. It's human, but also more than that. It adapts. It improves. And with it, humans can face anything." The AI's voice spoke softly, almost like a companion. Ethan Parker. Lydia Brooks. Mission success achieved. Systems optimized. Awaiting new commands. Ethan smiled, running his hand along the console. "We've just begun. The galaxy has no idea what humans are capable of yet." Fredia nodded. "They're about to find out." Titan's Wrath became more than a ship. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and determination. Other races began to treat humans with respect. They realized that no matter how small or underestimated, humans could achieve greatness when they applied their mind and spirit. The ship itself seemed to understand its role. It moved through space with confidence, following Ethan and Lydia, responding to them instantly, and anticipating problems before they arose. Together, human and machine had created something truly legendary. Years passed. Titan's Wrath continued to defend human colonies, battle hostile fleets, and explore unknown regions of space. Each mission made it stronger, smarter, and more respected across the galaxy. Ethan and Lydia became known not just as mechanics or engineers, but as pioneers, proving that humans could rise to challenges no one else could face. Even alien fleets began to study the techniques used by Titan's Wrath. None succeeded. Humans had a combination of intuition, creativity, and adaptability that no algorithm or alien protocol could match. One day, while resting aboard the ship, Ethan looked out at a distant star. "I think this is just the beginning," he said quietly. Lydia leaned back, smiling, "And I'm ready for whatever comes next." Titan's wrath hummed beneath them, alive and powerful, ready for new adventures. It was no longer a neglected relic. It was a living war machine reborn through human hands, a symbol that even the forgotten could rise to greatness when someone dared to believe. The galaxy had seen the power of humans and Titan's wrath, and it would never forget. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of challenges, dangers, and possibilities. And among them, a human mechanic and his partner. Aboard a ship once abandoned, now the most powerful war machine in the galaxy, moved forward with courage, ingenuity, and hope. Humans had been underestimated for too long. Now, with Titan's wrath and their unwavering spirit, they had shown the universe what they were truly capable of. And this was only the beginning.